Could you tell us more about your creative vision and how you see it coming to life through the NFT medium, as one other medium that you're adding to the different mediums that you were previously exploring?
Poetry, the last 3 or 4 years of my life really became a big factor. I would spend sometimes days writing poems at cafes. And sometimes that had been the best thing that I'd done all week. I had kind of had a routine going where I would go to Muay Thai kickboxing first thing in the morning, and then I would go to a cafe and I would write like poetry until I had to bartend that evening, or an audition or filming something as well. But in between, what I was doing was like writing a lot of poetry in cafes. I wrote about 2 books of poetry in a year. It was kind of like a mad creative flurry. And I think it was also like kind of a cataclysm of like a lot of creative things that were going on within me. Like, I was studying a lot of my late father's writings for the screenplay that I was writing about him. And his writings really impacted me and his whole world, because my late father was an art critic and a very opinionated and challenging character in the story of 20th century art, particularly in England. He was a great debater and polemicist. So he really, when you read his writings, they're very sort of emotionally fueled and extremely engaging. And so I'd spent like a lot of time reading his work. And I also found from his friends that what he really wanted to do was be a poet. I also found a manuscript of unpublished poetry that he had. And I found poems in his like early magazine that he created, and poems that he'd write in his letters. I was very inspired by those as well. And to find that he was inspired like a lot by writers like Baudelaire. And Baudelaire was a poet who, I mean, wrote a lot autobiographically, but also about paintings. Like paintings feature throughout Flowers of Evil in every other poem. He's got like 2 poems that are dedicated to like talking about Delacroix and Goya. And so I suppose all that just kind of inspired me to start writing poetry from it, like using a painting as the muse and then combining that autobiographically with my own experience and sort of having it become like the poem is like about the experience of art, like one's own subjective experience of art. And within that, telling the story of one's own emotional life, telling a story, and using the painting as the visual symbology as well. I just found really enhanced it and could be just a powerful storytelling tool.